Hello, my friends. We have a lot of ground to cover, but before we get into it, and I know you want to know about Kursk, and we're going to talk extensively about Kursk, I want to draw your attention to the losses of the occupiers in Ukraine. It's not just that 1,170 Russians are off the battlefield, casualties. It's not 7 tanks, it's not 7 armored fighting vehicles, 71 artillery systems, or the 79 vehicles and fuel tanks. Look at this number here. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about north of 600,000 Russian casualties. 600,000. By the time you're watching this now, we may have already crossed that threshold. We won't know the official numbers until tomorrow, but that's absolutely absurdly high. It's mind-numbing to think that this many Russians have been just obliterated, and for what? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Andrew Perpetua's list. He was catching up his list for the last 2 days. It's roughly 1 to 1, and that's not great, but that's where we are. Okay. Last night, Russia attacked with 8 missiles and 8 Shahed drones. The Ukrainian Air Force reported Russia launched these particular missiles. Air defense shot down 13 of the 16 air targets, all 5 Shahed drones, and 5 of the missiles. Now, where are they coming from? Look at this map. I'll pull this up a little bit closer so that you can see. There's a reason, perhaps, why they want to go into Kursk, because maybe that's part of the target. I don't know that that's what's going on, but these drones are coming from Kursk. Now, Russia attacked Brovary in the Kiev Oblast with a KH-101 missile, which contains a cassette warhead. Cluster munitions may explode into other munitions. That's part of what's going on here. And again, they shot down 13 out of 16. 2 of those were North Korean missiles that they shot down, and 3 of the North Korean missiles actually appear to have gotten through. Ukraine downs 5 Russian missiles, 8 drones overnight. Kyiv faces its 3rd ballistic missile strike this month. While some damage occurred in Kyiv Oblast, no casualties were reported, but mercifully the Russians stopped this house from advancing toward Russian positions or something. Right? This is what they're attacking. You can see it with your own eyes. Okay. Meanwhile, the armed forces of Ukraine attacked the Kavkaz Combine in the Rostov region. Oil and oil products needed for the Russian armed forces were there. Here's other views of the same thing. Here's another view. Local governor, an oil depot in the Rostov region of Russia was attacked by drones, according to him. In addition to the oil depot, there was also a diesel fuel depot. Okay, so that's what the Ukrainians are attacking there. Now, Russian assaults are thwarted near Donetsk, but I don't know how long they'll be able to hold on to this. Now, I see this guy say a failed Russian offensive, and he's kind of right when you look at the map, but he's kind of not right in a different way. And it's important to be honest and actually see clearly what's happening here. It's important to understand just how big a failure the Russian offensive on Ukraine in the past year. The map shows the Donetsk region. In red are all Russian successes in 1 year. 1 year. Okay. So what's previous here in the like pinkish colors is what Russia had been holding, or Russia grabbed real estate very early on in the 2022 war. Now, this red is what they've just recently taken, and this is the outline of the Donetsk Oblast. And I'm going to show it to you here as well. Here is Pokrovsk. This is what they really want. It's the crossroads. It will really hamstrung the Ukrainians if they can take that real estate. It's important. It's very important. The next thing that they're going to have to do is back way up if the Russians can take it. But and again, the Russians can, and my guess is maybe even given enough time will, unless something else changes. So I'm not saying that because I want that to happen, but here is 1 month ago, and here is 1 month before that, and here is 1 month before that, and 1 month before that. So the Russians are really moving. Let's do this and fast forward. So how long after we stop will they actually get to Pokrovsk? Here's month, 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 month. Maybe another month or two, I mean, that's the real picture on the ground if with what's going on in the Eastern Front. They are chipping away, but again, the big picture is they're chipping away toward Покровsk. They don't own this real estate here in Donetsk Oblast, which is the Donetsk People's Republic. And so I want you to see both of these pictures simultaneously so that you are actually informed, not just repeating something. Okay, and then listen to different voices, not just mine, and then you can make up your mind for yourself of what's really going on. Okay, let's look at Kursk. The Kursk Oblast, or Oblast, excuse me. I keep getting corrected. People want to be like snarky about, you keep saying Oblast, sorry, I'm an American. I've never used the term oblast before, and I'm trying. Okay, the Kursk Oblast. Here's Andrew Perpetua posted the map, but let's look at this visual because this is pretty impressive. In 2 weeks, what's happened? Now, given that they haven't run into any meaningful opposition, that's what's allowed them to spread, and I get that, as opposed to what you just saw in Donetsk, but it's wildly impressive what they've been able to do here over the span of just about, not quite 2 weeks yet. We're, I think, on day 13 now, right? That's what it looks like, and it's really impressive. About 11, 1,000, more than 1,000, probably closer to 1,100 square kilometers at this point. Kursk Oblast, day 13, a thread. All events in Kursk Oblast and neighboring areas will be combined in this thread. And I'm not going to go into the others. I'm just going to show you this. According to Russian sources, fighting is ongoing in these areas. Now, these are according to Russian telegram sources, which are far more accurate than Russian state media. Like, these are pro-Russian mill bloggers, generally speaking. So, okay. So what's going on? Kyiv just blew another bridge in the Russian oblast that is Kursk, which is now partly falling under Ukrainian control. And so why are they blowing these bridges? So it messes with supply routes and people getting in or out, but that would also keep them from getting in or out, right? Now, I was watching Preston Stewart yesterday, and he has an interesting theory. He said, well, it doesn't seem like they're pressing to Moscow or this reason or that reason or drawing off troops from Donetsk or whatever. It seems like it's a diversion. He doesn't know for what, but his argument is it's a diversion before something else big. Who knows what that will be? Okay, meanwhile, Ukrainian military maneuver in Kursk Oblast is compensating for Russia's advantage. So Russia, if you go 1-to-1 with Russia and you just line up and they have their artillery and you have 5 times less artillery and you're just trying to duke it out like they are in Donetsk, it's not going to go well for you, generally speaking. The Russians can keep going. Here's a quote: Russia and Ukraine's ability to generate enough combat power to man continuous defensive positions with no open flanks and establish tactical depth at significant points along the front line has forced both sides to attempt penetration battles that are so costly that subsequent exploitation is often not feasible. And I think that that's what's happening. But here, what's going on, there's this maneuver warfare, and we're not exactly sure what they're trying to accomplish, but they can go all kinds of, and he's talking about, like, they just keep going different directions. It's hard for the Russians to figure out where exactly they're going. I'm not sure that the Ukrainians even know. Maybe they have a plan, but they just keep going all kinds of different directions. Maybe it's just to keep the Russians off balance. I don't know. Okay. Now, the times. Russia can counterattack near Kursk only in late October. So by the time they get organized and have everything together, they'll have spent many, many months within Russia. Okay, mopping up operation that reveals many Russian conscripts tried to change into civilian clothing to escape capture. Well, these conscripts don't want to be there, so they're trying to escape or they're trying to surrender rather than get killed. A Russian soldier in a fit of anger, and I've seen this in other places saying that he was a Russian commander. I don't know that that's the case. Addressed the male population of the Kursk region, criticizing them for fleeing the war instead of staying to defend their land. He urged them to either take up weapons or at least dig trenches and give their vehicles to those who are risking their lives to defend Kursk. Now, I can't figure this out for the life of me. Why it is that the Russians, they just, well, we give up, rather than, like, in the beginning with Ukraine, like, everyone, like little old ladies were out there throwing pots of, like, they were trying to create obstacles for the Russian invasion. And the Russians aren't doing that. They're just like, well, it's not my problem, or they're fleeing or whatever. But it's a puzzle to me. Okay. Last few things. I have about 6 things here that I want to show you. Hey, look, I'm not implying anything, but hey, this is Transnistria. Now, the Russians are in Transnistria, and they're sitting on a huge stockpile of artillery. So, yes, you'd have to fight for that, but yes, there's also a big stockpile of artillery. I'm not saying anything or implying anything, but okay, that could be coming down the pike. We don't know. I mean, after Kursk, all kinds of things are possible. Belarus moves significant military forces to the Ukrainian border. I think I'm going to talk about this later, but in the meantime, I'm just introducing it. Belarus's Lukashenko has deployed nearly a third of his army to the Ukrainian border, citing the presence of over 120,000 Ukrainian troops. That figure sounds very high to me, and his army is not that tough. Remember, his army has given up much of their equipment to Russia because Russia needed it. Okay, going to the grocery store in Sutsa, Kursk, Ukrainian-occupied Russia. This is Jason J. Smart. By the way, I quote him a lot. He's an American political analyst who moved to Russia. I'm sorry, moved to Ukraine. Excuse me. Well, he's now in Russia. That's why I said Russia, because he's actually physically there and just taking a selfie in front of a store in Ukrainian-occupied Kursk. Kursk Oblast, a group of Ukrainian Special Forces operators are posing with a MT-12 anti-tank gun that they captured. A casually flying down a tunnel with an FPV drone. It's amazing what drones have been able to do. And 2 more things. Studies show that the combination of the colors red and yellow produce hunger. If you haven't gotten it already, you'll get it soon. Got it? Yeah. See what I did there? Okay, and then finally, this is kind of what it must be feeling like for Russia. Like there are things set in motion, and you're thinking, well, there's nothing to see here, 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 nothing to see here. Whoa, that is pretty bad. Yeah. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you. Thanks for the likes and the shares and the subscribes, and thank you for caring about Ukraine.